Good morning. I'm Sandra Bolte, a grateful member of the Sunday service team. My pronouns are she and her. Whether this is your first time at UUCCI or you've been coming for years, regardless of your gender identity, sexual orientation, race, culture, political or religious affiliation, or none, if you care for a pet or not, we are enriched by our diversity. We welcome you to this community of hope and courage where we celebrate love and work for justice. This morning, I want to welcome Laura Beth Buchleiter, who is our speaker today. Today's service is about peace as a path to resistance. Welcome, Laura Beth. Reverend Laura Beth Buchleiter is a spiritual director, speaker, writer, advocate, and consultant. She has over 30 years of experience in various Christian ministry settings. She speaks on topics ranging from gender identity and sexual orientation to self-care and wellness. In all her work, Laura Beth draws heavily on her own experience with PTSD, gender dysphoria, suicidal ideation, and the challenges that come with those when working in faith communities. Laura Beth currently makes her home base in Indianapolis while traveling the country wherever she is needed as an interim pastor. She has lived all over the U.S., including Puerto Rico. In addition to writing, speaking, and working with local faith communities, she keeps herself busy as an artist, musician, parent, and grandparent. The opening words this morning are from On the Brink by Leslie I always do this, Takahashi. All that we have ever loved and all that we have ever been stand with us on the brink of all that we aspire to create. A deeper peace, a larger love, a more embracing hope, a deeper joy in this life we share.
What's in there?
It's a bunny.
Yeah, a rabbit. What else is in there, Missy? Wonderful. Find out. Can I see this? Has anybody felt stressed out lately? Has anybody felt nervous or anxious? Maybe a little dysregulated, and that's a big word, but kind of, it doesn't feel good, right? You might feel clammy, you might feel your foot's tapping, any of those sort of things. So I thought it might be a good time to share some tools that help you regulate. And so these might help us. So one is a bunny. Now this is a rather large bunny. A lot of bunnies are smaller than this. But can a bunny take like a big, big breath? No, bunnies take these really little breaths, okay? So what we're going to try to do is we're going to take 1, 2, 3 little bunny breaths in, and then a big bunny breath through our nose. Ready? So we're going to go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more time. How do you feel? That's a little tool. And it's springtime. Sometimes we see bunnies around a lot, so I like that. It kind of helps us think about that. Now, my oldest daughter used to do this to me a lot when she was a baby. Who could imagine this being an elephant's ear? And so you can use your own ear, but you could start at the top and go to the bottom and back and just apply a little bit of pressure between your thumb and your index finger, gently massaging your ear. And you can go back up to the top. Mm. And so again, your ears are usually with you, right? So that's a handy thing. And she used to do that when she'd fall asleep, but it's actually an acupressure point to help when you're feeling stressed or nervous. And then since Reverend LB told me she was going to be talking about peace, it made me think about when I used to be in Bloomington, I had a friend named Sarah Flint, and she was also a singer-songwriter, and she used a Shambhala meditation that is earth, courage, calm, abiding. And then the last time she adds in peace. And so she taught that to us as a chant. You can stand. If you would like to stay sitting, you can absolutely stay sitting for this. But I invite you, if you feel moved to stand up with us, go for it. Come on up. I'll step up a step just so people can see me because I'm short. Okay, so earth, where's the earth? All around us and underneath us. So grounding your feet. And who also knows this is kind of a power pose, right? You feel more powerful, which is where you might need to find courage. So kind of that earth, courage, calm, abiding. And what we're going to do is we're going to say that 4 times. And then the 5th time, we're going to do earth, courage, calm, abiding, and peace. Okay? All right. We feel like we can do this? And again, it's something, it just, anytime you have chants or things like that, they help you when you're feeling frustrated, when you're feeling nervous, when you're feeling scared. Ready? Earth, courage, calm, abiding. 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 Last one, and peace. Yes. I hope you enjoy that. I hope you enjoy the rest of the service, and we're gonna sing our children out.
I often find myself discouraged with the world and want to go back to bed and give up. I look at how powerful greed and hate are right now, with visions of bombed out cities, displaced people with nowhere to go, people begging for help, humanitarian aid being blocked, innocent men with shaved heads pushed down and chains being paraded for the news cameras, and Musk with his bloody chainsaw dancing on the stage. One strategy of war is to bombard the enemy with unimaginable strikes until in despair they stop fighting and they take it all. How did the American people become the enemy? I know we can't let up. That is their goal in this war against humanity. Right is wrong, up is down, power and money is life. They are attacking our might-be immigrant neighbors. We must defend them. They're attacking our diversity, women, LGBTQ, people of color, the poor, people with disabilities, the very stuff that makes us creative, strong, and resilient. Remember the potato famine? There was no diversity. So what's the antidote? Yes, we must act, and we must keep peace and joy in our lives every day. For me, I've learned to make a list of those things that bring me joy, because when I'm defeated, I can't remember what to do. Remember Maria von Trapp, whiskers on kittens and wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings. Those things are there, whether we notice them or not. They are there for the joy if we can remember sometimes to look up, sometimes to look down. So I made a list and posted it on my bathroom mirror. I put Post-it notes around the house to remind me to look out the window, to walk out into the garden, to call a trusted friend, to meditate, to sing or go to a UU cabaret. to dance, to watch a funny movie, to take a long walk, to make a gratitude list. These things bring me back to center, to peace. I keep adding to that list because it's how I find the energy to fight injustice another day for those under attack today. I'm afraid my turn is coming. How did Viktor Frankl do it?
Our first reading this morning is a poem by Catherine Williams called The Dog Body of My Soul. Some days, I feel like a retriever racing back and forth, fetching the tired old balls that the universe tosses me. Some days, I'm on a leash following someone else's route, sensing that I'm supposed to be grateful. Some days, I'm waiting in a darkened house, bladder insistent, not knowing when my people are going to return. But some days, I hurl myself into the sweet, stinging surf, race wildly back, and roll in the sand's warm welcome.
Our second reading is by Thich Nhat Hanh. If the earth were your body, you would be able to feel the many areas where it is suffering war, political and economic oppression, famine, and pollution wreak havoc in so many places. Every day, children are becoming blind from malnutrition, their hands searching hopelessly through mounds of trash for a few ounces of food. Adults are dying slowly in prisons for trying to oppose violence. Rivers are dying, and the air is becoming more and more difficult to breathe. Although the two great superpowers are becoming a little more friendly, they still have enough nuclear weapons to destroy the earth dozens of times. Many people are aware of the world's suffering. Their hearts are filled with compassion. They know what needs to be done, and they engage in political, social, and environmental work to try to change things. But after a period of intense involvement, they may become discouraged if they lack the strength needed to sustain a life of action. Real strength is not in power, money, and weapons, but in deep inner peace. Practicing mindfulness in each moment of our daily lives, we can cultivate our own peace. With clarity, determination, and patience, the fruits of meditation, we can sustain a life of action and be real instruments of peace. I have seen this peace in people of various religious and cultural backgrounds who spend their time and energy protecting the weak, struggling for social justice, lessening the disparity between rich and poor, stopping the arms race, fighting against discrimination, and watering the trees of love and understanding throughout the world.
Our topic this morning is peace as a path to resistance. And I bring that as an invitation. And it's an invitation to sit quietly when there's chaos. It's an invitation to laugh when laughing seems inappropriate. Have you ever laughed at a moment and thought, oof, somebody somewhere is hurting. And if they heard me laugh, they might think I didn't care. If we let ourselves get caught into that mindset right now, we will never laugh. We will never know joy. We will never know peace. The invitation isn't to find peace. The invitation is to bring peace to the moment. And to that end, I've selected a psalm. And it's a familiar psalm to many of us, the 23rd psalm. It's a psalm of David. David has been a favorite of mine for a long time. If you looked in my high school yearbook and it asked who your heroes were, I said King David. And all my classmates said, "What?" It's like, never mind. You won't worry about it. My relationship with David has grown a little more complicated as I've studied scripture, and I've learned a lot more about David. And I don't like him as much as I once did. And that bothers me every now and then, but I can say the same for myself. As I've grown and learned a little bit more about me, I don't always like myself as much as I once did, but I still love me and I still appreciate me, and will do the same for David. Bless his heart. This is from the Message translation of the Hebrew Scriptures. God, my shepherd, I don't need a thing. You have bedded me down in lush meadows. You find me quiet pools to drink from. True to your word, you let me catch my breath and send me in the right direction. Even when that way goes through Death Valley, I'm not afraid because you're walking by my side. Your trusty shepherd's crook makes me feel secure. You serve me a 6-course dinner right in front of my enemies. That's the dream, isn't it? You revive my drooping head, my cup brims with blessing. Your beauty and love chase after me every day of my life. I'm back home in the house of God for the rest of my life. David wrote that psalm while he was being chased, possibly by Saul, possibly by one of his sons in one of their many mutinies against him and his rule in Israel. Enemies were everywhere. He had every reason to not think of himself as being in a moment of peace. And yet he chose to see it. He chose to find it. He chose to bring it to the moment with him. So what does that mean? If we think of peace simply as the opposite of chaos, as the opposite of conflict, as the opposite of war, we might never find it. But I want to offer a definition of peace that is probably somewhat familiar and resonates with you. I can't say that everywhere I go, but I think I can say it here. Peace is the quiet stillness of the whole self. I love the chorus that we just sang that says, "How dare anyone ever tell you you were anything but whole?" Every one of us sitting here in this moment right now, no matter how peaceful we feel, how restored we feel, we are whole. Body, soul, spirit. Now, whether or not we are living into that restoration, whether or not we are living into the wholeness, is something that we get to decide every moment of every day. It's something that we get to follow and choose. So my definition of peace is quiet stillness of the whole self. There's some problems with that. Stillness in a world that is constantly moving is counterintuitive. And I'm not talking about the troubled world of the last several months and the foreseeable future in our country. I'm not talking about the troubled world that's been around the world, even though we have been sheltered from it. Let's stop and think about that every now and then. Our world may feel like it's descending into chaos, but that chaos has existed. We just haven't had to deal with it. It's coming to our doorstep now. I'm not talking about political or social landscape. I'm talking about the fact that the world is in motion. It's spinning on its own axis. It's spinning on its own axis. It's moving around the sun. The sun is moving around whatever the sun moves around. Everything is in motion. Stillness is counterintuitive. We have to step outside of our known tangible world to even imagine what stillness might look like. Peace is then quiet, this quiet stillness, quiet in the middle of chaos. I give this talk to a lot of different contexts and a lot of different people, and I have a lot of young mothers that come up to me and say, do you remember when your kids were young? My kids are 19 to 29 now. Is that right? We just had birthdays, I have to remember. 19 to 29, yes. And there's one in the middle right there. Do you remember when your kids were toddlers? Do you remember what it was like to have that constant noise in their house? When you pretend to need to go to the bathroom just to have some quiet, and even that doesn't work. Quiet in the middle of chaos. It doesn't mean that we're still. It doesn't mean that we're alone. It doesn't mean that there's not noise around us. It means that we can find the quiet of our souls. It means that while doing dishes, I can take 2 breaths. Again, stepping away from the tangible that we know as time, the tangible that we know as volume, and saying, not that. Just a breath can be an eternity of quiet to the soul if we allow it to be and we embrace it that way. It's easy to talk about peace as if it's something that we just decide to do. It's easy to talk about peace as if it's a simple choice that we make when we wake up in the morning. And we read the headlines. We're like, no, peace. We get into traffic and we're like, peace. We go to work and we're like, peace. It's not as simple as just ignoring life. In fact, ignorance and blindness, according to the Yoga Sutras, is one of the obstacles to our wholeness. It's one of the obstacles to our path to faith. We can't ignore the world around us. However, peace is not a complex equation that needs to be solved. It's not as simple as just ignoring life, but it's not this complex ritual and lifelong exploration that we need to find some guru in the Himalayas to lead us to. It can be helpful. Maybe not even the Himalayas, maybe just in the mountain or the state park here somewhere. I don't know. There are people that can help us lead. There are things we can learn along the way. There are things that it's worth studying for. It's worth pursuing. It's worth learning. But peace isn't that complicated. So if it's not simple and it's not complicated, then what is it? It's simply this: peace springs from our ability to embrace a journey as equal to a destination. I said it before, I'll say it again. If peace is something that we have to get to, peace is something that we have to get other things out of the way in order to happen, we're not going to find it. It's going to be constantly elusive to us. But if we accept peace as the embracing of the journey to get there, as part of the process, then we can find it anywhere and everywhere. I said peace isn't the opposite of chaos or war or noise. Peace could be the opposite of anxiety. If you need to have an opposite for it, I would offer that one. Anxiety comes from always having somewhere we need to go. Anxiety comes from always having a destination that is one step out of reach. Always having a goal that is just a little bit beyond us. It's okay to have goals. It's good to have destinations. One of my goals in life is to navigate the Great Loop, which is the waterway that goes from the Great Lakes down the rivers and around Florida and up the Intercoastal Waterway. I don't own a boat, so I don't know how that's going to happen. And I'm not a great swimmer, so that's not going to. It's a goal, it's a dream. But if I let myself be robbed of peace because I don't know how that's going to happen, I'm depriving myself of life on the journey. Peace springs from our ability to embrace a journey as equal to a destination. Peace is also a byproduct of this internal conversation that we allow to carry on. And the conversation is this: love is the instigator. A conversation internally toward peace starts with love as the instigator of the conversation. Grace is the tone. Grace is the tone of the conversation. It says it's okay. You goofed up? Yep. Get back up. They goofed up? Yep. David was an idiot? Yep. You're an idiot sometimes. But it's okay. Grace is the tone. Love is the instigator. Faith and hope become actions. Faith and hope are the things that take the step forward. And whether that's to the destination we thought we were heading toward, whether that's to the goal we thought we were going to reach, they are taking us somewhere. And it's that somewhere that we get to find peace. It's that somewhere that we get to say the conversation of love, the conversation of grace, the conversation of faith and hope are resonating within this whole self in a way that brings peace to wherever I am. Today is the Transgender Day of Visibility. Visibility is an interesting goal. And honestly, not one that all of my trans siblings aspire to. Visibility frightens many people in our community. Being known, excuse me, being known, being seen. Yep, that's the tone. Okay. Being appreciated, not being discounted. These are all important things to offer to anyone who feels othered, anyone who could feel othered in our space. But visibility is something that can often produce anxiety among trans people, among othered people. So as we talk about being visible and we talk about peace, let's talk about it in a way that reduces anxiety. Let's talk about it in a way that brings humanity and dignity. Let's talk about it in a way that doesn't see a trans person, that sees love, that sees grace, that sees faith and hope, all embodied in this trans experience that gives us a perspective on life that we never would have dared to ask for, but speaking for myself, can't imagine living without. If you see me today, I hope you see love. I hope you see compassion and empathy. And I hope you see peace that defies the chaos of our times. See a trans woman, absolutely. See a tall drink of water, if that helps. But then look deeper, and I'll be here looking back through my whole self with peace. I had a moment a few years back. I was actually on a piece of that intercoastal waterway, helping a friend move their boat. Our destination was from North Carolina up to New York. I was in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay and I got a call that one of my children was in chaos and needed help. So I made arrangements to get off the boat in Annapolis and got on a plane in Baltimore. But about that same time as we were traveling across the Chesapeake Bay, I was looking out and we were under sail. And if you know anything about sailboats, being under sail is much more of a privilege than we like to think it is, because winds aren't always cooperative. We were using the motor more than we had liked. And so to be under sail, to have good winds moving us in the right direction was not something that we wanted to give up lightly. However, winds often come with storms. And so with our good winds over here, we were watching this storm over there, and I kept saying, that's turning our way. And my friend whose boat this was, so she was the captain, as she liked to remind me. It was fine. She did well as a captain. She would say, we're fine. She'd look at the storm. I'm looking at the radar. I'm looking at the storm. I'm looking at the waves. I'm watching the wind. We're going to go this way. The storm's going to go this way. I said, okay. And I'd look up again and I'd say, that storm's coming really close. But within a few minutes, the storm was right on top of us. And we were going through a process we call powering down, which means getting all of the sails into a safe place where, one, they're not going to be torn apart, and two, the boat's not going to be blown away, because that's what sails are designed to do. I was actually strapped into the boat, into the safety line around the boat, walking around in full rain gear, getting all of this done. It took about 10 minutes to get it powered down. And there was about another, it feels like 30 minutes in my head. It was probably 3 minutes, honestly, sitting on the boat, going through these storms, waves taller than the boat. It was 3 of the most terrifying minutes that I've spent at sea. However, once the storm passed, the waves spread out, they calmed down a little bit, still pretty big, but instead of jumping across them and smashing between them, we were rolling over them. It was 3 of the most terrifying minutes I ever spent at sea, followed by 2 of the most peaceful hours of my life. And as I was nursing a wound on my foot that happened somehow as I was moving around the boat, I honestly, to this day, don't know how that cut got there. But as I was nursing this wound and thinking about the chaos of that moment in the storm, and thinking about the peace that followed, I couldn't help but think, how would I have done this differently? How would I behaved differently in the storm if I had trusted that the peace was coming? If I had been able to see in the middle of the chaos that the peace had never left? We talk a lot about this calm before the storm. And that implies this notion of a false sense of security, that there's this eeriness as the air settles and the pressure stills the world, that says it's calm now, but just wait, the storm's coming. What if instead we talked about the storm before the calm? What if we said, the storm is here, the chaos is swirling, everything's in motions, everything is loud, but the undercurrent of peace has never stopped? I'm going to invite you in a minute just to breathe on that thought. I'm going to share a song that I wrote during that 3 hours of peace. I should say I started writing it, and as I made my way back to Indiana after leaving the boat out of Annapolis, I finished writing it as I embraced the idea that the hope and the peace were still alive and well. You may recognize the choruses of these songs. I invite you to sing along enthusiastically. But for now, let's just breathe. Going. It's hard to see how far I've come, still so far to go. There's so much to keep my heart in anguish. Just a glimpse of light to bring peace to my soul. So I'll carry this load down the mountain to the valley. Leave my burdens at the river and do my best to carry on in the midst of all the trials and all the wind and rainy weather. I find my way to peace in this storm before the calm. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I can't feel where all of this is going. It's dark inside my soul, and my spirit's bleeding dry. There's so much that keeps me from breathing, but a simple breath of joy can bring a tear to my eye. So I'll carry my song down the river to the fountain. I'll sing it for the season, do my best to carry on. And in the midst of all the trials and all the wind and rainy weather, I find my way to joy in this storm before the calm. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. Someday I'll know where all of this was going. I'll look back on now, see the hope that's always been. No doubt in my mind what keeps me moving is the hand of a neighbor and the love of a friend. So I'll carry my soul across the waves of the ocean, leave my sorrows on a billow, and do my best to carry on. In the midst of all the trials and all the wind and rainy weather, I'll find all the love in this storm before the calm. I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. Will you stand with me and sing that one more time? I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. May we know the peace that the universe has to offer us.